Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Alright, so I actually went 17-0 with this particular team. It's pretty nuts because I didn't expect... I literally grinded to level 44, so it you can probably imagine how tired I was. And I managed to go 26-4 overall after grinding to level 43. It was like nuts, just like how good I did. But there's a good reason why this team went 17-0, why it's such a monster, and why it's such a beast. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the team for this video. I'm going to be doing mostly like Shoutcast or live analysis so that you can try it out and use it. However, I think it's better, like, if you want the in-depth analysis, I have the link to the video in the description. I actually did an hour-long video on like the ins and, like, 90% of the ins and outs of this team. So, if you want to take a look at that, that's in the description. But this team went 17-0 and 24-6 for my first day of Go Battle League. It's good for a specific reason. As you see here, it's statistically, at one point, the most powerful team in Great League. Well, at least on the PvPoke trading sims, but the PvPoke trading sims are literally monsters. So, the AI on PvPoke is really good. The equivalent to, like, a top player. And breaking in, it took me a lot of time, but like I was able to break in this team, and when it factored out, which I do normally, so I always normally create teams that create it. The version before this one had a regular shiftery in the lead, and that one actually rivaled BBML, which is the G-Fisk, Azu, and Tropius Core for Season 3. And that managed, and now after shifting the lead to Shadow, after doing a little bit of more analysis, I actually broke it into the most powerful team in PvPoke. So I'm really happy about the results, but factually, this team performs and can take you to rank 10. Season 2, I made it with this team, with the regular shiftery, but it became more powerful after the meta shifted to a more Galvantula and G-Fisk heavy lead team, because Shadow Shiftery beats both of those two leads in the 2-shield. So there's very intricate strategies. Again, the overall analysis is on another video, and that's in the description if you really want to learn about it. Because the thing about this team is that, yes, it's insanely powerful, but that's only if you play it well. Alright, so here's just a basic summary of all the strats for it. Again, I already have an in-depth video on this, so I'm not going to go too deep on this section. So, Shiftery lead wins most patterns. There's very intricate details about using Shiftery, like queuing energy, etc. That's why I have that video on the link. Like I said, this is really complicated because the thing about this team is you have to be a really good player. This isn't your generic, oh, use Azu, use Altara, use Reggie, use things that have a ton of bulk, have energy, have shield pressure, and just gives you a lot of room for error. This team allows you to play, if you're a really good player, this team allows you to gain W's very quickly. Or not very quickly, but like allows you to play out of bad matchups, losing leads very comfortably. Like, if I see a flyer lead, I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I know how to beat it unless I get hard countered in the back. Of course, every team's going to get RPS. You can get hard countered. For example, I can get... the thing about this team is obviously a fighter is the worst nightmare of this team. However, if you could take out the fighter and eliminate the fighter, you can still win matches. Just because G-Fisk is so strong, and with Shadow Shifter with energy, it can play out matches, or if you have shield advantage. It's a lot of ways out. Of course, Diax's defense is your safe switch. I run Psycho Boost Rock Slide. Here's the reason why. Rock Slide Thunderbolt gives you the Azu matchup. That's fine. It's okay. I can still make plays with Rock Slide. For example, with Rock Slide, you can pretend you go up to a Thunderbolt, fire the Rock Slide, and you can still bait a shield. I like Psycho Boost better because Psycho Boost allows you to give you an out versus fighters. Psycho Boost will OKO a Shadow Champ, it will OKO Haunters, it will one-shot Toxicroaks. They don't shield it. they don't shield it, or you can combo it, it's very powerful. Especially, like I said, the combos. There's a lot of times where I have triple Psycho Boost Toxicroaks, triple Psycho Boost Haunters to take both of their shields and KO the Haunter or Toxicroak. It's that powerful. But it requires an insane amount of skill. That's why a lot of people don't like running Psycho Boost, just because it's a hard move to use and it debuffs you. You being able to play around moves that debuff you is a very advanced skill, and it takes a lot of guts, which is why this team is very difficult. You have a Glassy lead, very powerful, wins CMP against a lot of things, and then you have your safe switch, which is also very difficult to play because you're using a move that requires you to be really gutsy and to really know and measure just how much damage you could take and when to fire. Because when you fire Psycho Boost, your counters do less damage. You have to do it in a certain order and way to make Psycho Boost work. But that's why it's hard to use. And that's why I like it. You need a large amount of player skill to play this team. But at the same, it can work generally. Like, if you're not a good player and you read the video, you could probably win generally with it. But if you're gonna get those 1 HP in the dreams or super close matchups, or be really comfortable with it, you have to play the team, obviously. So, more experience equals more comfortable, and then more W's, which is it. And then you have the Pancake as the closer. Galarian Stunfisk is amazing. The reason why I have G-Fisk in a closer is, one, it's insanely powerful, and you need an answer against Grass Hole users. This team can take on Grass Hole users whether they have Bastiodon or they have Shadow Vic in the lead. Again, the more in-depth analysis is on the video in description. But Galarian Stunfisk also allows you to wall flyers. A lot of what happens is that if I win a lead versus an Azu or Mudboy, they'll throw their Skarmory or their Altaria into me, and then I'm like, okay, cool. I Q Energy with Shadow Shiftry, so I get 2 or 3 more Snarls in, and then I'll throw in G-Fisk. G-Fisk can eat like 5 Sky attacks. So I can kill the Altaria, get both shields, and still win Switch comfortably, and then I have Shiftry with a ton of energy. With that combination, which I've seen a lot in that play, 9 times out of 10 I don't lose that match. I'll almost always win that. I'll almost always win that battle whenever I have that happen. But it has high combo and wall potential as well. It's also able to wall Deoxys defense, and if their Azu doesn't have Hydro Pump, it's very powerful. In general, this thing's a monster. Played expertly in the hands of great players, it's even worse than it is, because it's really that good. So then that's why I have G-Fisk as a closer. This statistically created the most powerful team on PvPoke at one point. So it factually is good, and it has taken me to rank 10 at one point. Alright, so here's a shoutcast of the battles. This is just a few of them, but it gives you a good example of just how powerful this team is. As you see here, I have my first opponent, which is Hyudor. This is in the early, 2 stage, so at this point, I was already, either 10-0. So, we get Wiggly into a Shiftry. This is horrible, but this is why we have Deoxys defense safe switch. I'm going to switch immediately, because we don't want Charms to do any damage to our Shiftry. Now, Mr. Wiggles is going to do some heavy damage here. I'm going to gain a ton of energy if my opponent doesn't switch out, and he does not. I'm going to fire these Rock Slides, hoping I either, one, bait a shield, or I'm able to do damage. This Wiggly will get to a charge move, so I have to be a little careful on its approach. So as you see, we're just getting wiggled down. My opponent does finally switch, and it's a Wish Cache. Now, this is where Psycho Boost is really interesting. My opponent switched in late, so I have 2 options here. Either one, I can switch... I can run the clock using Psycho Boost, and then send in Shiftry, or I can do something else fancy. So as you see here, I'm going to get enough for almost 2 Psycho Boosts. I'm going to do 1 here. My goal is to either break a shield or do heavy damage. So I fire the Psycho Boost, my opponent does shield. This is great, because we want to get shields. This doesn't KO our opponent out either, so our opponent shielded because they didn't know how much damage this would do. Now we have 2 Psycho Boosts. I'm going to let this go, though, because there's no reason for me to keep my Deoxys D. We got a shield, we have shield advantage, which is great. I'm going to send in Shiftry to get energy now, because now we have a lot safer play against that Wigglytuff. Yes, I lose Switch, but I have 2 shields, and now I have energy. So this Wish Cache, this is definitely a Mud Bomb. There's no way it's a Blizzard too early on Mud Shot damage. And then we're going to queue as much energy as we can, and as you see, I switch out before the Charm goes out. This is what I mean by it takes a little bit of skill before you can, using this team. It requires you to be really smart. I'm not going to shield this because I know this is a Play Rough, an Ice Beam, etc., and I resist those. So, Galarian Stunfisk is a great matchup against Charmers. I'm going to fire this Rock Slide, though, because I don't want to take any damage. I have 2 shields. You don't want to die with 2 shields. So, measure as comfortably as you can here. We take out the Wigglytuff with the Rock Slide, and I get a Steelix. So... it was very... once I saw this thing, I was like, what? I was like, wow. I mean, it was really... I mean, if it was anything other than, like, a Steelix, it would have been... I still would have won pretty comfortably. I took out the Charmer. Unless it was, like, a fighter or a hard counter to Stunfisk or Shiftry, I would have definitely lost this match. However, if it was anything like an Azu or something like that, it would have been fine. But, like, being able to take out the Charmer and having 2 shields, having shield advantage, and having 2 Leaf Blades queued. As you see here, I switch in, combo in, I have a Leaf Blade queued. I win CMP even if he had a move, and this will KO the poor Wishcash, and then I'll take out the Steelix in the back because I have so much energy with another Leaf Blade. Actually, I think it takes a Leaf Blade and some change because Steelix is pretty tanky. So, as you saw there, Shiny Steelix does go down. That's GG's. But as you see, queuing energy and just having energy and shield advantage with Shiftry is just so good. Especially, even if you do happen to lose the lead like you see here. But like I said, if it was in a closer and it was like a fighter or something like that, we still had play, but it'd be really rough. But as you see here, we were able to take out the Steelix. And even though we had a really bad lead, because Charmers are really bad leads against this team, you don't want to stay in against the Charmer lead. And that's GG's. We're going to go on to the next battle here. I don't have this video at 1.5 because I really want to explain well on matchups, etc. But as you see here, I'm 14-0, going for the 15-0 right here. And we're looking for our next match. As you see, even if you do lose the lead, there's still a lot of ways to play out of matchups. And there's a lot of plays you can make. Either win switch, bait shields, or get shield advantage. And you can come out, you can pick up, so you can do some really sweet plays with this team. We get a Marowak into Shiftry this time around. This is rough. Marowak is a winning lead. There's a way you can kind of play around this though. So what I usually do is I will Leaf Blade to bait. My opponent switches out though into their G-Fisk. Now, this is great, because we win this in the 2 shields, and I have a ton of energy. That Marowak does have a move queued, though, so I have to be mindful of that. Now, we're just going to go straight Leaf Blade here. I'm going to try to time this. As you see here, I rapidly tap on my charge move, but this wasn't CMP. This was just a timing thing. So, my opponent does get to the Rock Slide first. I'm going to shield, because this will get to my Shiftry to red. Gaining a little more energy here for 2 straight Leaf Blades, and we're going to back-to-back. I want to back-to-back so my opponent doesn't get another mud shot in, and it's perfectly fine. They're either going to let this go or shield, and we do get the shield. As you see, I do back-to-back. Have a little bit more energy, so it's going to take, I think, 2 more Snarls before I get another Leaf Blade. So this is we're really comfortable right now. We're just smashing our opponent's shields. As you see here, we take switch, and we have shields. I send in my G-Fisk now. My opponent's switch clock is somewhat up, though. Like, it's going to come up in probably 2 charge moves. This is either a Shadow Ball, Shadow Bone, or a Bone Club. I'm going to let it go. And it is a Shadow Ball. This is kind of bad, but all I need to do is get this next shield, and instead we get a Meganium. This is okay. Because I have so much energy on my G-Fisk, I can Rock Slide. And we still have a really healthy Deoxys defense and a Shiftry for a sack. So we have plenty of plays here. We have a sack shield. We have a whole DD, and we still have a shield, but they have a shield too. So I'm going to fire all these Rock Slides in an attempt to try to get that last shield. As you see, my opponent does not shield, but these Rock Slides are still chunking and doing heavy damage. I'm going to let my G-Fizz go because there's no point in shielding a Frenzy Plant. My opponent is going to get to 2 Frenzy Plants here. I'm going to send in DD, and I'm going to farm down. Because I could send in Shiftry to try to win CMP, but I want extra energy on my DD. Because as long as my DD gets 2 Rock Slides, that Marowak is hurt enough to where I can do a lot of damage with my Rock Slides. I'll let the Frenzy Plant through. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to save my shield for that alone, the Marowak. As you see, I have a ton of energy. I can get to 2 Rock Slides. More Marowak comes through. And my opponent rage quits. Well, there was very little play my opponent had in that matchup because I had shield, I had huge energy on my DD, and I still have a whole Shifty for a sack, so I had so much play. As you see, 15-0. This team is really good. I went 15-0, and then I ended up going 17-0 before I finally lost. So it was really good. Alright, so here we have my final battle. As you see, it's a former rank 10 from Season 4, so you can already tell it's going to be sweaty. Now we get a Shiftry into a Drifblim. I win this lead, but there's a lot of things my opponent can do, so I'm going to go... What I normally do is go straight foul play, or I'll try to bait a shield. It's just how I feel like playing it, but my opponent switches into a Scrafty. It's a really good catch. I kind of expected them to do something though. But with Scrafty in the back, any fighter versus this team is already a rough matchup. As you see, I get 2 more Snarls in, and then I switch into DD. Now, what we're gonna do here is I'm going to have to be really fancy. Like I said, any fighter, especially a Scrafty, because Scrafty does heavy damage with a foul play. And as you see, it hurts a lot against Deoxys defense. At this point, I'm gonna start shielding everything. I took it anyways because if that was a power-up punch, that shield would have been huge, and a power punch plus a foul play at +1 really sucks. As you see, my opponent is just straight foul playing. But my counters are doing heavy damage here. I'm going to fire this Rock Slide. I don't think my opponent will shield here, and they're just going to let their Scrafty go. We want to win switch. I try to undercharge, and as you see, I undercharge just a little bit, get 2 more counters in, and then now I can expect to see that Drip Blimp come in, and I'm going to throw a Rock Slide at it. That's why I'm mashing at that Rock Slide. So we're waiting for our opponent to make a decision here. As you see, it is the Drip Blimp. Drip Blimp's gonna get energy, can KO me. I'm going to fire off this Rock Slide to deal some damage and hopefully grab that last shield. Or not the last shield, 1 shield. Now we're in even shield scenarios. My opponent caught that Leaf Blade, so this is already rough. Even though it looks like I'm comfortable right now, I'm actually not. So I see when's going to take out my Deoxys defense. I'm going to send Shiftry back in. It has energy. Now I'm going to watch out for another switch, so I bait here. Because my opponent's like, okay, he went straight foul play. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to hit you with another foul play. Nope, it's a bait, and I get the bait. So that's a way you can use kind of shields and Shiftry's energy. Because Shiftry does so much damage as a shadow, it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to shield. And we get the bait. Now I shield here. We want to get as much energy as we can. As you see, the Icy Wind goes off, and they switch again into a Pharaoh Thorn. Now this is okay because I have the Pancake in the back. Of course, this foul play is debuff. He catches me again. So really great plays by my opponent. But I kind of needed a fire right away anyway. So as you see here, I'm going to gather energy for another Leaf Blade. And then I will switch out. Now I'm going straight for that Earthquake because I need an Earthquake to kill here. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to get to at least 100 energy. 11 mud shots is 99 energy because 1 mud shot is 9 energy per shot. As you see here, I'm going to overcharge perfectly because I need that to hopefully clutch this match. Because that Drip Blimp has energy. So as you see, 2 Power Whips won't KO here. I know that for sure. My opponent won't get to another one. And then I fire the Earthquake. So I'm going to fire the Earthquake, hopefully, and I have a little more energy. And I should be able to drop a Rock Slide on that Drip Blimp for the GG. As you see here, we get the Rock Slide off, and that's GG's. I had energy on Shiftry, so they would have to blow their energy to take out my Stun Fist, even if I didn't get this Rock Slide off. I would get a foul play, and I would win. So I made it to where there's no way out for my opponent. My opponent played that really well. They had a really hard counter to my entire team, but as you see, take out the hard counter, that's GG's. And as you see here, this match actually was my 17th win against a rank 10 opponent. Alright guys, I hope this team gives you an idea and hopefully inspires you to play or to create teams with it. The Shiftry DD core is very powerful. You don't have to run Stunfisk in the back. I've ran Registeel in the back and it worked well. I've ran Azu in the back and it works well as well. This team is very powerful, very intricate, very strong. But again, it takes a lot of player skill to use, and it's requires you to have a semi-decent knowledge of how to play things and how to, especially shield advantage, energy advantage, and just confidence. It's not an easy team to use, which is why you don't see it flying around everywhere in GBL. It's a lot of the strategies I create are not easy to use. They're very intricate and require a little bit of time to understand. If you're a good player, you'll have a great idea. But, that's why this team is just so good. If you know it, you'll win a lot of matchups. And even ones where you do see the fighter lead, or if you get a really bad lead, you can still play out of it with this team. Again, the more detailed description is in the YouTube video. I put in the link below, so if you really want to look at it and you do the time with it, even if you just flat out play this, it can still do very well with you, but still, I definitely recommend if you really want to use this team really well, watch the video below, because it gives you the answer to Grass Hole, gives you the answer to losing lead against fighters and flyers. It also gives you an answer to other things that you may not expect, or just really random things you might encounter. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. I'll only do a video on this if it really performs well, and this team, I've already done a video on this, but these teams performs just so well. 17 is nuts. I went after level 44 too, so I was tired, and this team still really took me to 24 and 6 for the first day. Even though I was already tired from grinding from level 43. But, you know, I wasn't really tired, but it's a lot of work, so... Yeah, and then to go do GBL at night and just do very well this team makes me really happy. Anyways, again, if you guys like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.